Well, the Sharks set the pace early in the season, but in the end, they were no match for the top two heavyweights of the NRL. So, can they make further ground in 2024? This is our season review for Cronulla. And here to break it down all for me, zero tackle expert analyst Darren Parkin. Darren, Sharks were a little bit better this year, but still couldn't quite get it done.
Yeah, that's right. Third best points differential in the comp. Second best defence behind only Penrith. They were ranked better defensively than the Melbourne Storm, who were on top of the ladder for a lot of the year. Also a top four scoring team. But it does feel like, and we'll do the Roosters soon as well, but it feels like there was a top two and then light years towards the next. And the Sharks, as much as they took some scalps early in the year, by the end of the season, that sort of status quo had been, I guess, re-established with the two breakaways at the top. But I guess looking at some of those numbers, I mean, jumping from 7th defensively the year before to 2nd, 5th to 4th in scoring, and 222 on points differential was 100 better than it was a year earlier, and the end result was a couple more wins. Looking at a few of it, so they went from 34.8 missed tackles per game down to 30.6, so they tightened that up. Ranked 2nd for total run meters, 3rd for tackle busts with their aggressive style of play. A few of the others, they averaged 11.5 errors per game last year, which was ranked equal 1st. This year they were ranked 7th, but produced about the same numbers. So there were just, I guess, a few more sides that were breaking out in that space. Ranked 2nd for penalties in the comp as well, behind only the Roosters. So just some of those disciplinary things. But if you look at their finals, hard-fought result against the Cowboys in the semi, but either side of that, they lose by 27 to the Melbourne Storm and 20 to Penrith. I thought they were better in that prelim than that scoreline suggested. They asked a few questions of the Panthers in that game, but certainly a fair distance off those two sides.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's look now at the 2024 pass mark. All right, so in 2023, Cronulla were finalists. They had a pretty poor record against top 8 sides. So coming into 2024, what would you say the pass mark was?
Yeah, I mean, they lost 7 of their last 10 meetings against top 8 sides last year, and they averaged 31 points against in matches against the other finalists over the course of the year. So they were not flat track bullies, but the perception was that they'd beat everybody below them or everyone outside of the 8, but couldn't quite measure up against the other contenders, if you will. So the expectation coming in was that they were able to stand up more in those pressure moments and land a few blows on the stronger side. So, and the way they did that was by improving their defence. We referenced Penrith quite a lot in this, but and look, it's only a feeling, but if you measure the Sharks and the Roosters, who both got belted by the two grand finalists and lost to them frequently throughout the course of the year, it feels, by the eye anyway, that the Sharks stacked up a little bit better, and that maybe they were a touch closer to maybe bridging that gap. They beat the Storm on a Friday night in the middle of the year, which was really important for them. So that they took steps forward, and they get a definite pass for Fitzgibbon's crew. I know they'd look at it and think, geez, we're a bit off the pace, but maybe not as far as it seems for mine.
Yep. All right. Let's take a look now at the lowlights. Okay, the big low light for the Sharks comes off a highlight. So they started really well. They exploded out at the start of the season, but then they just sort of took a dive from there.
They did, yes. I mean, they were 9-1 after 10 games. That included a win over the Melbourne Storm. They were on top of the ladder. Their frugal defence was easily ranked the best in the competition at that stage. But then they lost 6 of the next 10, and that included a 42-zip belting at the hands of Penrith at home, which took a bit of the gloss off. And, they didn't really recover from that in those big matchups for the remainder of the year. They looked at a slight chance to miss top 4 in the back end of the year, but I think the fact that they hung on to top 4 said a little bit more about the faltering of a couple of the sides that were chasing them, like the Cowboys being one of those who just couldn't run them down. And they did pretty well to recover, though, and they were playing all right again by the time they hit finals, and just that some of that early season momentum had fallen away. Obviously losing their inspirational forward leader, Dale Finucane, early in the year to a medical retirement hurt them, but I think they did a pretty good job, all things considered, in covering that.
Yep, absolutely. So a little bit brutal there, but let's move now to the highlights. So the big highlight for Cronulla, obviously breaking that finals hoodoo after coming off, I think, 7 final losses in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 9 of 10 previously. So to get the Cowboys there, took the monkey off the back. 2018 was the last time they won a final. So that will give them a lot of confidence and break that sort of monkey off the back, so to speak. So the question on them coming into the season was whether they could compete with the best. In rounds 9 and 10, they should bottle that up and use that in the off-season. They beat the Melbourne Storm with players out, mind you, on the road, and then back that up with a win over the Roosters, another top 4 side, and that put them on top of the ladder at that stage. Now, as we said, they got figured out a bit by Penrith and Melbourne by the end of the year, and they were off the pace again. But if you look at what that best looks like, they could harness that and potentially build into something.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move now to the standout player. Right, so standout for the Sharks, Braden Trindle.
Yeah, a bit of an easy one for them, I reckon. He was vital. The more the season went on, even when their form tapered a little bit, he hung in there. So 12 tries for the season, 338 average kicking metres, 18 try assists, and he was completely dominant when they beat the Cowboys in that semi-final, 635 kick metres on that evening. So, yeah, he was a tremendous standout for them over the course of the season.
Yep. All right, so we love headlines here at Zero Tackle, and to be honest, when we were writing this, we didn't really have that many for Cronulla, but Darren, I believe you have a fresh one.
Yeah, it's just popped up over the last few days. Obviously, players duck off overseas in the off season to get a bit of R&R, and Toby Rudolph went to Bali and did what you might do if you go to Bali and go surfing, and did a few little bits and pieces. But he's injured his shoulder quite severely over there, and it's already been announced he'll miss the start of the season, which is not ideal for them. So he played 21 games last year, sort of starting prop or coming off the bench, and so he's confirmed that he sustained a shoulder injury. And that was also during a training session with renowned sprinting coach Roger Fabry as well. So, a few issues whilst he was over there. A little bit of relaxing, but also a little bit of running and pre-season work, and no good for him. So.
Yeah, well, wouldn't be a off season without a completely avoidable off season injury. Right, so let's take a look now to 2025. Okay, so 2025, for me, I think it's pretty simple. They should be pushing for that premiership.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at a telling stat, which is the difference between the very best and the very good, and Sharks are a very good side, the Panthers the very best side. The Panthers are 11-0 in their last 11 finals. The Sharks are 2-9 in their last 11 finals. So when it comes to the crunch and you're playing the other strong sides in the competition, they just haven't quite been able to get it done. They model a lot of what they've done on the Panthers, and that's a bit of a telling stat if you look at it. I mean, they're a very deep squad. They've got a lot of quality, but maybe not the explosive talent in some key areas. Strangely, they were the only side not to have a representative in either of the last 2 Origin fixtures, which for a side that was top 4 for basically the entire season, that's a touch surprising. So can they land a match winner or maybe grow another one from within their group? Nico Hines getting back to Dally M form would be crucial. Aiden Finau-Blake from the Warriors, a very important signing. So I think if you look at them on balance and output, definitely a top 4 side, but maybe just a little bit of X factor would be enough to push them into a grand final and maybe even challenge to take it out, depending on obviously how they can stack up against the top 2.
Yep. Well, that wraps it up for the 2024 season review for the Sharks. As you said, Darren, they just need to avoid those 6-foot barrels.
Yeah, ironic. The Sharks need to stay out of the water, I think.
All right, well, let us know in the comments if you think the Sharks can challenge the big boys at the top in 2025. Remember to like and subscribe. We have plenty of content. We're doing season reviews for every team. We're also taking a look at 2026 and who your team should be targeting. So, again, like and subscribe. Get down into the comments section and catch all the latest NRL news at zerotackle.com.